Oh, that's big speed. 15th and final turn of the racetrack.
Lewis Hamilton's FIA bombshell. The Brazil controversy that shattered Formula One. Lap 6. Turn 1. Destruction. Lewis Hamilton's Ferrari, scarlet paint flashing, already wounded from an earlier hit, now colliding with Franco Colapinto's Alpine. The front wing explodes, the floor shatters, and then the radio message that would shake Formula One to its foundation. These guys are a joke, a complete joke. 7 world championships, 20 years of racing at the highest level, and
get them good points this weekend, but I'll come back as strong as I can in the next race and try to recover it.
For the first time in his storied career, Hamilton didn't just question the FIA, he went to war with them. Because Brazil 2025 wasn't simply another disappointing Sunday. It was the breaking point where Formula One's most decorated driver finally voiced what countless others had been thinking in silence. Has the governing body lost its grip on fair competition? Or has Lewis Hamilton simply reached the end of his patience with a regulatory system he considers fundamentally damaged? Interlagos was meant to be resurrection. Hamilton arrived carrying the weight of Mexico, where a brutal 10-second penalty had stripped away what should have been his maiden Ferrari podium. A decision so questionable that even objective analysts wondered if the stewards had evaluated the same racing incident. Brazil offered a fresh start. Qualifying left him 13th on the grid. The SF25 struggled for balance. But inside that cockpit burned the determination of a champion who refuses to surrender. The opening lap delivered immediate drama. Carlos Sainz made contact. Hamilton tumbled to 17th position. The Ferrari's aerodynamics already bleeding efficiency, losing crucial downforce with each passing corner. Yet, he fought back, because quitting isn't written in his DNA. Then, lap 6 arrived on the main straight. Hamilton closed on Franco Colapinto's Alpine. A car ahead, a gap narrowing, a damaged Ferrari responding unpredictably. The front wing disintegrated. Floor damage catastrophic. 40 points of aerodynamic downforce vanished in milliseconds. Race control's response came swiftly. 5-second time penalty. Hamilton deemed predominantly at fault for operating an already crippled machine, for executing a maneuver with compromised vehicle dynamics, for an incident that terminated his competitive afternoon before the stewards finished documenting their judgment. Hamilton's eruption over team radio wasn't theatrical. It was volcanic. These guys are a joke, a complete joke. This transcended momentary frustration. This represented months of accumulated grievances finally rupturing through professional restraint. Brazil merely continued a narrative constructed across Mexico, Zandvoort, and haunted by Abu Dhabi 2021. That devastating evening when controversial officiating denied him championship number 8. Every dubious ruling, every inconsistent sanction, every instance where the FIA prioritized opacity over accountability, all of it converged in those 7 explosive words. Superficially, the FIA's judgment appeared procedural, contact documented, responsibility assigned, penalty administered, investigation concluded. But examine deeper and structural fractures emerge. During qualifying, stewards recognized extenuating circumstances when Hamilton traversed a double yellow flag sector, acknowledging the viewing angle limitations, the signal's brief appearance, his concentration on braking references. They issued a formal warning regardless. Mexico saw Hamilton punished for track departure while battling Max Verstappen. 10 seconds added for what numerous observers classified as hard racing. Meanwhile, comparable situations involving other drivers received 0 consequence. Now Brazil, where the Ferrari operated with existing damage, where data confirmed aerodynamic compromise, where the collision originated from a destabilized car navigating dense traffic. The technical context? Disregarded? The engineering reality? Overlooked. The fact Hamilton's race had effectively concluded? Immaterial. Here's what transforms everything. The FIA wasn't simply penalizing isolated incidents. They were penalizing accumulated history. 3 penalty points now burden Hamilton's superlicense. 2 acquired at Zandvoort. 1 added from Brazil. A timer has activated, and accompanying it, a question that should disturb every Formula One supporter. Is the sport's most accomplished driver being methodically maneuvered toward mandatory suspension? Fred Vasseur avoids public warfare. Ferrari's team principal operates through diplomacy, precision, understanding that confrontations with the FIA succeed through private negotiation, not media spectacle. Brazil shattered that approach. Post-race, Vasseur transcended defending his driver. He interrogated the entire apparatus. He labeled Mexico's penalty very, very harsh and not very well handled. He identified inconsistency patterns across multiple race weekends. He implied the FIA's transparency deficit directly undermined Ferrari's championship ambitions, then delivered the statement exposing everything. These decisions don't just ruin races, they shape championships and careers. Decoded. Ferrari believes impartiality has evaporated from FIA decision-making. Vasseur's declaration wasn't merely protective loyalty, it was calculated political maneuvering. Ferrari understands the private conversations circulating throughout other teams. They've monitored the quiet frustrations from drivers sensing rule interpretation shifts based on competitor identity. They've witnessed mounting exasperation over sanctions appearing arbitrary rather than standardized. Speaking publicly, Vasseur elevated Ferrari from casualty to representative, articulating a widespread discontentment previously confined to paddock shadows. The revelation extends beyond Hamilton's anger. Ferrari, among Formula One's most influential institutions, has publicly declared the FIA incapable of administering equitable justice. And when Ferrari questions legitimacy, the entire sport takes notice. Backlash materialized instantly. Hamilton's transmission, these guys are a joke. Viral status. Digital platforms erupted. Supporters fractured into opposing factions. Those perceiving an emotional driver exceeding professional boundaries, and those recognizing a champion finally confronting institutional dysfunction. Real consequences penetrate beyond public sentiment. Ferrari departed Brazil scoreless. Charles Leclerc retired following a multi-car collision involving Kimi Antonelli and Oscar Piastri, both SF25s eliminated while Mercedes secured a commanding double podium. For a constructor battling McLaren and Mercedes for championship positioning, the damage proved catastrophic. Not exclusively the vanished points, but the narrative constructed. Ferrari besieged simultaneously by track competitors and the officials supposedly guaranteeing competitive fairness. The superlicense mechanism, originally architected to discourage dangerous driving, now operates as existential threat hovering above Hamilton's helmet. 3 points accumulated across 12 months, 9 separating him from mandatory race exclusion. Every minor incident transforms into potential disaster. Every racing decision carries suspension consequences. And the uncertainty, the impossibility of predicting what receives punishment versus what gets ignored, makes defensive driving the sole logical strategy. Hamilton has never embraced logic. He's embodied relentlessness, which guarantees the next controversial flashpoint isn't hypothetical. It's inevitable. When it materializes, the FIA confronts a binary choice: reinforce their current trajectory or acknowledge something fundamental has fractured in Formula One's self-policing mechanisms. The paddock watches, the drivers wait, and the championship hangs in a balance no longer determined purely by speed. Scenario 1. The FIA dismisses Hamilton's accusations. Additional penalties accumulate. The super license point total climbs dangerously, and one Sunday, Perhaps during a championship-deciding weekend, Lewis Hamilton watches helplessly from pit wall while substitute drivers occupy his Ferrari. Scenario 2. Driver solidarity emerges. Russell, Leclerc, even Verstappen, names previously whispered in confidential discussions, become vocal supporters. The GPDA demands transparency reforms, consistency standards, former driver integration into stewarding panels. The FIA, confronting organized rebellion from its competitors, implements structural changes. Scenario 3. Ferrari escalates aggressively. Deploying telemetry evidence, legal resources, and institutional authority, they challenge the FIA's governance in unprecedented fashion, not exclusively regarding Hamilton's sanctions, but questioning the complete regulatory architecture, triggering a political confrontation that could fundamentally restructure Formula One's power dynamics. One scenario unfolds across remaining race weekends, possibly all three simultaneously. The championship isn't merely about fastest laps anymore. It's about who controls the narrative when speed and politics collide. Was Hamilton justified unleashing frustration over team radio? Or did emotion compromise his accountability assessment? Does the FIA genuinely exhibit favoritism? Or is Formula One's most decorated champion simply struggling to accept that regulations apply universally? And here's what should generate sleepless nights. If a 7-time world champion with 2 decades of elite experience no longer trusts officiating, what credibility remains for anyone else? Brazil wasn't about a 5-second time penalty. It documented the precise moment the sport's most powerful voice decided silence equaled complicity. And in Formula One, once that threshold is crossed, reversing course becomes impossible. The fire has been lit. The question now isn't whether it spreads. It's how much burns before someone finally extinguishes the flames.